Voters in Israel are casting ballots in elections that will determine if Benjamin Netanyahu will remain in office for a fifth term. He voted in West Jerusalem, while his main challenger, Benny Gantz, urged the country to embrace a new dawn. Opinion polls put Gantz's blue and white alliance just ahead of Netanyahu's Likud party. However, the Prime Minister appears to have the best chance of forming another coalition government.
I must tell you I had no major doubts, but this is a sacred act. This is truly the essence of democracy, and we should be blessed with it. But you need to choose well. I cannot say what. I can, but I don't want to. Not here.
I'm happy to place myself at the service of the State of Israel and the citizens of Israel. I'm happy to stand for the good of the citizens on a new path. We call for a respectful and quiet day from all sides.
Well, Hoda Abdel-Hamid is outside a polling station in Tel Aviv. We'll cross live to her after we speak to Stefanie Dekker, who's in occupied East Jerusalem. Stefanie, you've been speaking with voters pretty much since the polls opened. What have they been saying to you where you are?
Well, you're right. It really depends where you are, where we are. It is a very much a right-wing area, but people here are divided when it comes to Benjamin Netanyahu. These polls are really seen as a test, as a referendum on the Prime Minister. Incidentally, he's just hit the beach north of Tel Aviv to tell voters to get off the beach and go to the polls, because we're just under 6 hours from those polls closing. So you have the parties really pushing their campaigns now to try and get as many voters to the poll, because it is such a tight race. Coming back to here, it's hard to tell, because it's very much right-wing. People are telling us they're going to vote right-wing. Some of them say, however, that Bibi's time is up. This is his nickname. This is how they call him. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu portrays himself as Mr. Security, as the only man who can really lead this country. But many people here have been telling us that it may be time for change. After 10 years at the top, another 3 as the Prime Minister just before that. So I think anything is up for grabs at this point in time. The bigger concern, of course, is about the shift, the direction that this country is taking, far more right-wing. People telling us here, one man was joking that Israelis do have a choice to vote between the right and the right. But I think we're going to have to wait and see. We do expect the first count to take place in about half an hour from now to get a sense of what kind of numbers we're going to be seeing going forward.
Stefanie Dekker in occupied East Jerusalem, thank you very much indeed for that update. Let's cross to Hoda Abdel-Hamid, who's in Tel Aviv for us. Hoda, the atmosphere in Tel Aviv, a bit different from East Jerusalem. Tell us more about what you've been hearing from the voters you've been speaking to.
Well, yes, absolutely. Actually, Israelis often refer to Tel Aviv as the Tel Aviv bubble, or really a state within the states. Now, here you have much more liberal ideas. You have also much more leftist-leaning ideas. Now, we spoke to a lot of people coming in and out of this polling station, and a lot would say they wouldn't reveal to you publicly who they voted for, but they said we need a change. A lot said that Benjamin Netanyahu had been in power for way too long. Some also are concerned of the political direction he is taking, also on an international scale. One of the young voters here saying we see him cozying with Trump, we see him cozying with the newly elected Brazilian president. We need to take things in charge. We need to take this country in a different direction. Yes, as Stefanie said, security is always a major concern among voters here, but the white and blue list, which is headed by Benny Gantz, does have that security credential, having 3 former chief of staff at the head of its leadership. So that, people say, yes, is a concern. We do have that there, but we need a change, and we hope that that change would then trickle down from the top to the bottom. The biggest problem really is for the leftists. Some of them are talking about strategic vote, basically giving their vote, instead of giving it to Meretz or to Labour, giving it to the blue and white list, simply to try to oust Benjamin Netanyahu. That is obviously a huge risk for the leftist voters, simply because they could see then their own parties and their own ideas, or the people representing their opinions in the Israeli parliament, ousted from that parliament at the end of this vote. So certainly a big risk for that. People are voting. You ask them at the end of the day, who do you think will win? And most of them reluctantly would tell you that Benjamin Netanyahu still remains the strong man in this country.
OK, Hoda, we'll have to leave it there. Thanks very much, though, for bringing us the view from Tel Aviv. Hoda Abdel-Hamid. Let's stay with this and talk to Al Jazeera's senior political analyst, Marwan Bishara, who joins me on set. Marwan, we heard there that this is both our correspondents. It seems very much a choice between the right and the right. Where does that leave the 1 in 5 voters who make up the electorate, the Palestinian Israelis?
Well, actually, it's between the right and decaffeinated right. It's between Likud and Likud light, in a sense that the blue-white list is more or less a center-right. There is a bit of a difference between it and Likud and those to the right of Likud, in the sense for the Palestinians, blue and white under Benny Gantz is probably more ready to start or restart speaking with the Palestinian Authority, with Mahmoud Abbas in particular, and break away from Prime Minister Netanyahu's boycott of the Palestinian Authority and focusing on Gaza and so on and so forth. So it's a bit of a difference. But as Hoda said, but I will take that a step further, it is not just about merits and those on the left. I think the nature of this very particular 2019 elections is because the competition is so high between Likud and blue-white that they're going to start eating away from the small parties. What we know is that there are 39 parties running. Will a dozen of those parties make it? What will happen to all those votes that have gone to the smaller parties that did not pass the 3.5%? They will go to the bigger parties. And if so, I think the big question now is how much Likud and blue-white, how well are they doing and how well their blocs are doing?
OK. It still remains very much too close to call. Let's look at some of the issues that have been at play in the run-up to this election, and something which is conspicuous by its absence almost is this question of dealing with the Palestinians. Yes. What do you make of that?
Well, because Israel is moving to the right, any conversation about two-state, with the exception of merits and a bit of labor, people lose votes on the right or in the center-right. And that's why the blue-white list under Benny Gantz did not even address the Palestinian question. What they're addressing is stability, security, peace process, and the likes, but not really pronounced over what does this mean, where is the country going. There is this sort of hiding behind slogans rather than really addressing the Israelis about what is at stake and where the country needs to go. Why? Well, because Israel is getting the full 100% backing of the American president, an American president who is far more popular in Israel than he is in his own country, the United States. With such backing, as America is basically vindicating all sorts of goodies, if you will, to the Israel, the annexation of East Jerusalem, the annexation of the Golan Heights, now calling the Iranian Revolutionary Guards terrorists, future annexation of the West Bank, all of that basically gets the Israeli parties off the hook to actually say what they really stand for. At this point, what they stand for is Trump.
OK, well, it's lots to pick over there, Marwan. We will, of course, be hearing more from you throughout the day as the results come in. But for now, thank you very much.